Welcome to the GreenLight Investor for the week ending April 15th, 2016. Our goal with the GreenLight Investor is to provide a unique resource to make managing 401k choices both a simple and easy process. We'll do this with a simple worksheet that uses red, green, and yellow cells to help you decide when to buy, what to buy, and when to sell. This presentation is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be taken as personal investment advice. I'll be showing some examples, and that's exactly what they are. They're examples of how you can use this worksheet as an additional research resource to help you manage the fund choices available to you within your 401k. Always refer to your own investment policy to make certain that the choices you're making are both appropriate for your investment time horizon, as well as your understanding and acceptance for taking risk in financial markets. With that said, let's go ahead and go into our worksheet and see how you might be able to use some of this as an additional research tool for managing 401k choices. On the left side of the worksheet, you'll see the investment choices that are available to you within your 401k plan. It'll start out with a core investment, the index funds. We'll have the satellite funds next. And these will be arranged such that the more conservative ones are generally towards the top. And as you scroll down, you'll get to the more aggressive funds, which are towards the bottom. If you're new to asset allocations, you can always fill out the asset allocation questionnaire. It's a simple 10 questions and will help provide some guidelines based on your age and your investment time horizon, as well as your ability to take on risk in financial markets, and provide some guidelines as to how you might want to allocate some assets available to you in your 401k plan. Down the center of the worksheet, we have our performance columns, and each week we update the closing price, the month-to-date, quarter-to-date, and year-to-date returns for each of the funds available to you. The reason we do this is so that rather than just once a quarter, each week you can kind of see trends develop and see how your funds are doing against the other funds available to you in each of the categories. And finally, we'll come up with the right side of the worksheet, which is centered around column V, and that shows the current weekly trends for each of the funds available to you in your 401k plan. The unique part about this is it's despite all the colors and it looks real busy, it's actually a pretty easy system to use once you get used to tracking it down. It takes just a few minutes each week to see if there's any adjustments you need to make to your portfolio. Down column V, we show the relative strength on a week-over-week change, so you'll be able to immediately focus on which funds have done the best relative to the others in the category. The bright green light will take you right to the funds that have done best, and this week it's the U.S. equity funds and the international funds. Bond funds have taken a little bit of a breather. As you can see by the year-to-date returns, the bond funds have been outperforming stocks for the year. Right now it looks like you're going to see a little bit of a reversion back to the riskier assets with the stocks. You can see that in each of the categories. Here we've seen the high yield has been a high performer. We've gone to the small cap, and here you see some green here, so the small caps have been outperforming the large caps this week. International markets have been relatively tame, and energy and healthcare have been the better performers so far this week. With that said, let's go ahead and go into column W, where each week we're going to give a numerical value that will show the strength, or weakness of each of the funds. When you're showing a positive relative strength, you'll see green lights, and when you're showing a negative relative strength, you'll see the red lights. Each week we rate this, so on a week-over-week basis, you can go back as far as you want, but you can see the overall trend by looking at the numerical values and see if they're increasing or if they're decreasing. And also what you see is when you see the transition from red to green, you're seeing that the overall market has been strengthening, as is the case now. We're starting to see a lot of green down the current week's column. So we're seeing relative strength is finally coming back into this market. U.S. equity funds are showing a lot of green lights with a handful that have shown for 2 or 3 weeks. International funds are for the first week showing more green than red, and the sector funds are also showing more green than red. So you're seeing a little bit of strength starting to occur in this market, and that's the reason we've shown that the bull market alert is in place, and that means that you could be starting a sustainable rally once you see a couple of weeks in a row where we've seen strength increase. With that said, let's see how we can use this information to make investment choices for each of the funds in your 401k plan. To use this sheet to use this worksheet to allocate assets, you'll simply go to the view in the ribbon, go to custom views, and let's go to my current allocation, which is all capital letters, and click show. This will go into a worksheet where you can keep track of your 401k choices, and simply by sliding the bar over, you can see if you've got more green, which is a bullish situation, which means it's okay to be in the funds, or if you see a lot of red still, there's certain funds that you'd want to stay away from. And this is a quick way to take an at-a-glance view of whether or not your funds are performing well. Here's again one that's increasing, but it hasn't been performing as well, and on a week-over-week basis is still underperforming. And here's a nice fund that's just starting to show relative strength, had a good week. We can slide over and see what that is. And we simply slide over and we'll see that it's the Vanguard Energy Fund. So if you are looking to allocate, this is actually, according to our system, it's not a bad time to get back into the energy funds. So we've seen a couple of weeks. We've actually seen several weeks, but we finally turned green. Let's go through and see how our allocations are and see if there's any adjustments we should consider making this week. We'd like to be 100% invested in the 401k. Our target to index funds is 10%. We currently have 5% in each of these, and we could actually start moving over an additional allocation in this fund if we choose to, but right now we'll stay right where we are. There's no reason to change. We're still neutral or bullish in each of the columns in the long-term trend, which is the most important trend to stay with when you're using momentum or trend following investing. And we also have at least 2 green lights to the right of it in columns W and X. So with that said, there's no changes needed to be made. We still have a 40% allocation to our money market fund. This is where we'll tap into if we want to make any changes. Fixed income, we have a 10% allocation. We're still neutral, but at least we have 2 green lights, so we're okay to maintain that. U.S. growth and income, we have a 10% allocation, 5 and 5. We still see bullish signs here, and we're seeing 2 green lights at least. We're seeing 3 in both of these, so it's fine. No attention is needed. Our U.S. equity funds, we'd like to have 20%, 25% invested in this category. We currently have only 10% because of the amount that we've shown. We've been red for a long time and have just started allocating here. We've seen small caps perform well over the last couple of weeks, and we've seen dividend paying stocks actually doing pretty well over the last few weeks. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at our allocations and see that we might want to make a change over. I like the small cap value right now in this type of a market. The value looks like a good allocation, and we don't have any small cap in the portfolio. So with 3 green lights, the long-term trend is positive with a bullish sign, and we now have 2 strong weeks of bullishness. Let's go ahead and allocate 10% to the small cap funds. To do so, we'll go back up and we'll take 10% out of our money market, so that's going to leave us with 30%. Still has our 100% allocation, but we're slowly moving into the funds, and that's all we need to do. We'd like to have 20% in the international funds. What we'll do is we'll look to do this if we see a second week turn bullish. So if this moves over next week and we have 2 green lights, we'll allocate some to the probably 10% over to the international funds. And what we would like to see is some of these change over to long-term trend. Here, right, we have our global equities. is the nearest candidate because it's already turned 3 bullish lights. The long-term trend is bullish. We would just like to see the relative strength show one more week of strength that it may be a sustainable rally occurring. If you're a little bit more aggressive, you could move into it this week, but we're going to stay on the conservative side. And finally, we have a 20% allocation. We have 10 and 10. We're still bullish, and we have at least 2 green lights, so no changes to be made. With that said, that's all we have to do each week to see if there's any changes to our allocation. I'm going to go ahead and save this. Let's go ahead and click back to custom views. We'll go with our performance sheet, and we're back to our home page. That's what I've got for the week. If you have any questions, my contact information is up here in the upper right. You can send me an email, and I'd be happy to go over how to use this worksheet, or how you can use this worksheet to help make decisions in your 401k allocation. You can also, if you'd like to get a copy of this, just access the website shown here, and you can download it and go through it yourself. Or you can email me and I'll put you on a mailing list, and we'll send this out each week so you can update and do a quick review of your own 401k plan. Also remember that allocations on this worksheet are simply manually input. To make the actual changes in your 401k, you'll have to go to your company website, make the changes there, and then you just keep track of the changes and monitor them with this research tool. That's what I've got for the week. Thank you very much for taking a few minutes out of your weekend to review your 401k. I hope you have a great week ahead, and thank you again for taking time.